The man who caused the death of over 70 million people, once saved a starving nation, and was even called a hero by millions, a failed artist who almost got rejected by fate, a soldier who saw his country crumble and swore to rebuild it, a leader who promised greatness and brought destruction instead. This is the unbelievable story of Adolf Hitler, from hero to villain, from savior to destroyer. And by the end of this story, you might start asking yourself a terrifying question. Was he born evil, or did the world make him that way? Chapter 1. The Rise. Germany, 1918. World War I has ended. But what's left behind is not victory, it's humiliation. The Treaty of Versailles stripped Germany of its pride, its land, and its future. The economy collapsed. People starved. Inflation became so bad that a loaf of bread cost billions of marks. Children played with banknotes because money had become worthless paper. In the middle of this chaos, a wounded soldier from the trenches of war looked around and whispered, "Someone has to bring Germany back." That soldier's name, Adolf Hitler. He had no job, no family, no power, only words. But those words carried fire. He joined a tiny political group, the German Workers' Party, and began giving speeches. Crowds grew, and with every speech he ignited something dangerous. Hope. He told Germans, "You are not defeated. You were betrayed." He blamed politicians, the treaty, and one group above all others, the Jews. By 1933, after years of political games and chaos, the impossible happened. Hitler became Chancellor of Germany. Within a year, democracy vanished. Books were burned, media was silenced, and the Nazi Party became the only voice allowed to speak. But to the German people, Hitler wasn't a tyrant. He was a miracle worker. Unemployment dropped from 6 million to less than 1 million. Factories reopened. Highways, the Autobahn, stretched across the land. And from the ashes of war, Germany was alive again. Crowds chanted his name. Children prayed for him in schools. Hitler was seen not as a man, but as a messiah. But behind the cheers lay the seed of a storm that would soon consume the world. Chapter 2. The Power. By the late 1930s, Hitler was unstoppable. He rebuilt the military in secret, violating every rule of the Versailles Treaty. And the world just watched. In 1936, he hosted the Berlin Olympics, turning it into a global propaganda show. Germany looked powerful, modern, and united. Even American reporters called him a genius of leadership. And yes, in 1938, Time magazine named Hitler Man of the Year. He had done what no other leader could. He restored national pride. But pride soon became obsession. Hitler believed in the idea of an Aryan master race. He saw Jews, the disabled, and minorities as impurities in his perfect world. He started with propaganda. Then came laws. Then came the camps. In 1939, Germany invaded Poland, and the world plunged into World War II. His army, the Wehrmacht, was unstoppable. France fell in 6 weeks. Britain barely survived the Blitz. And Hitler began dreaming of a new world, one where the German Reich would last 1,000 years. But there's a darker truth people forget. Hitler never smoked, never drank, and loved animals. He banned animal testing, promoted vegetarianism, and despised hunting. He was the image of discipline. But his mind was a labyrinth of hate, paranoia, and delusion. Behind the walls of his grand empire, millions were rounded up, imprisoned, and executed, just for being who they were. By 1941, the Holocaust had begun. It was no longer about victory. It was about extermination. Chapter 3. The Darkness. Hitler's empire stretched across Europe, but his hunger had no limit. In 1941, he made the fatal mistake, invading the Soviet Union. The Nazis were confident until winter arrived. Temperatures dropped to 40 degrees. Tanks froze. Soldiers starved. The invincible German army began to crumble. Then came Stalingrad, one of the bloodiest battles in history. 500,000 German soldiers died or were captured. Hitler refused to retreat. He was no longer a leader. He was a dictator obsessed with a fantasy. Even his own generals feared him. By 1944, his empire was falling apart. Allies attacked from the west. The Soviets pushed from the east. In a desperate attempt to win, Hitler ordered children as young as 12 to fight. He turned cities into ruins, sacrificed his people, and still screamed, "Germany will never surrender." The man, once seen as a hero, had become the very thing he swore to destroy, a tyrant destroying his own nation. But even then, millions still believed in him. They refused to accept that their savior had brought them to hell. Chapter 4: The Fall. April 1945. Berlin, a city of smoke, fire, and broken dreams. Hitler hides deep underground in his Führer bunker. Above him, Soviet artillery pounds the city. He's pale, shaking, and paranoid. His once confident voice now whispers in madness. He orders imaginary armies to attack. He blames his generals for betrayal. And as the walls of his empire collapse, he marries his longtime lover, Eva Braun. The next morning, April 30th, 1945, Eva takes a cyanide pill. Hitler puts a pistol to his head and fires. The man who dreamed of ruling the world ended it in a bunker. A few hours later, Soviet troops stormed Berlin. All that remained of Hitler was ash. His empire was gone. His people were broken, and his name forever cursed. Chapter 5: The Legacy. So, now comes the question the world still struggles to answer. Was Hitler truly evil, or did the world create him? He rose when people were desperate. He promised hope when they had none. He offered pride at the price of humanity. He rebuilt Germany and then destroyed half the planet. He gave people jobs and took away their souls. The truth is, Hitler was not born a monster. He was made into one by pain, rejection, war, and power. If he had been accepted into art school, maybe history would have remembered him not as a dictator, but as a painter who dreamed of beauty instead of blood. But power reveals who we truly are, and Hitler's power revealed the darkest side of humanity itself. So, was he a hero turned villain? Or was the hero just an illusion hiding the monster within? Maybe the real horror is that millions followed him, not because they were forced to, but because they believed, and that is the scariest truth of all. If you lived in Germany in 1936, when everyone was employed, streets were safe, and hope returned, would you have seen Hitler as a hero, or noticed the evil lurking behind his promises? Comment your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe, because next time, we'll uncover the story of another man who rose to power and vanished in silence.